everybody. I'm doing a YouTube video on how to make this great fun interactive card using the barn door stamp set and sliding door dies. So this door slides back and forth on a little track, and it says happy birthday on one side and may your troubles be less and your blessings be more. And then on the inside I have stamped one of the wreaths from the stamp set, as well as on the envelope. So hopefully by the time I'm finished this video, you'll be able to make one yourself. Oh, I did this recently at my team meeting, and then again at my club, my stamping club. And I have a couple of kits left over. So if you place an order between now, today is Sunday, January the 21st. If you place an order between now and January the 31st and you order the barn door bundle, I will send you a card kit. So you can make this card. So the bundle consists of the barn door stamp set and the coordinating sliding door framelits. So there's 15 dies in this set of dies, and the stamp set has 8. And I'll just find it here in the catalog for you. I know it's here somewhere. Let's look at my handy dandy index. So if you are one of my customers and you got an occasions catalog from me, I included an index that I made up, and it's alphabetical. So the barn door is on page 43. So just going to scoot to page 43, and there's the bundle. So it consists of the stamp set and the dies, and right here is where you would order the bundle from. And if you order them in a bundle, you save 10% over ordering them individually. The clear amount is $55.75 Canadian plus shipping and taxes, and the wood mount bundle is $65.50 plus shipping and taxes, which isn't bad considering all of the great stuff you get. Okay, I'm also using the Happy Birthday from the Southern Serenade stamp set, which is also in the Occasions catalog. We're going to use the Simple Stripes embossing folder from the Occasions catalog. The ink I'm going to use today is Tuxedo Black Memento, Sweet Sugar Plum, Peekaboo Peach, and Crumb Cake. Okay, so when I created this card, I made it to look like a barn, the front of a barn. So I have put the red piece right down equal with the bottom of your white card base and left a frame around 3 sides so that it looks like a barn door. Okay, I'll just leave that there for you to have a look at while I'm creating, and hopefully I won't get it too bad. Okay, so what you need to make this, and what is included in the kit, is a Whisper White envelope, a card base, thick Whisper White, 8.5 by 5.5, folded in quarters, folded in half, which is in a quarter of the size of a piece of cardstock, a piece for the inside, which measures 5 1/4 by 4, a piece for the barn door, which measures 5 1/8 by 4 1/8, Whisper White to stamp the door on, which measures 2 3/4 by 4, a piece of real red to stamp the door on, which also measures 2 3/4 by 4, a piece of basic black to cut all the extra pieces, 4.5 by 1 1/4, a piece of white for your sentiment, which is 2 1/4 by 3 5/8, and a piece of Whisper White which measures 1.5 by 4.25 to stamp and die cut all the extras. Now I've already cut out the hello piece, but I'm going to show you how to do it. The first thing I think we'll do is deal with the barn itself. So it needs to be die cut and embossed. You have to die cut first and then emboss, because if you emboss first, when you run it through the machine to die cut it, it will flatten all your embossing lines. So now we're going to use some dies. I'm going to get out all of the dies that I need and put them in a container, because this little die here that we use, I've lost it 3 times already and I don't want to do that anymore. So this is the piece that cuts the slots in there. This is the piece that cuts your barn door. You need this one to cut the hello. This one is to cut out these flowers. Then we need the biggest of the single flowers to cut out the middle flower. And this one cuts out the rail at the top. These two here cut out the roller hanger doodad thingies. And this one cuts out the handle. So the one we need right now is this one to cut out the sliding slots. Okay, so we're going to make the barn front first, and we're going to use this die to cut the slides and the magnetic platform and a cutting plate. This one has a bit of a wow in it, so I'm just going to turn it over so we get some good contact with the magnetic plate, and center that, kind of eyeballing to make sure it's straight at the bottom, and I'll just whip it through. All right, so now we have our slots cut. And these little pieces here are extra. We don't need them. I'll put that back in my container of dies. Now I'm going to emboss it with the Simple Stripes embossing folder. And I want to make sure that this is the good side, because you know when you use a die you always get a nicely rounded edge, and then you get an edge that has a bit of a lip on it. And I want to put it in the back of the embossing folder, because I want my boards. I want the boards to stick out, not the embossed lines. And to do that, I need to have the good side on the back of the embossing folder. Okay, so we need the platform, we need a cutting mat, we need another cutting mat, and just whip that through using the Big Shot. And we're done with the embossing folder. Okay, so now we have the base to build the barn door on. We're just going to put that to the side for now. And I think the next thing I will do is get the Memento ink, stamp the happy birthday on one side of this piece of cardstock. And I want it on the left side, and I want it down a bit so we can still put the flowers in there. And then this sentiment, may your troubles be less and your blessings more, we're going to stamp on the other side over to the right. Oh, a little crooked. Oh well. That's how things go in my world. A little crooked sometimes. So now that, we're just going to use some snail put it right here in the middle. And the reason I'm doing this now is because when I made this card at the beginning, I forgot to do this, and it's a little bit easier to do it before you get everything else on your card front. Okay, that's step 2. So step 3, now I'm going to build the flowers, and I've already stamped this wreath in Peekaboo Peach and Sweet Sugar Plum. Now I'm going to use some teeny tiny dies to cut it out. So I've put all the dies that I need in here from the sliding door die set. And I store them on a magnetic sheet. So I just take off the ones I need. So we already used this one, which cut the slots in the front. This one we're going to use to cut the doors out. This one cuts the slide out. This is for the hello. These 2 pieces are for the flowers. Then there's the handle and the 2 slider parts at the top. Okay, so let me get this back in frame for you. Okay, so just put those to the side, and I'm trying to teach myself when I'm playing with dies on my craft room to put them in a plastic container, because this one doesn't like to stay put. So I'm just lining it up, and then on the front of the package I'm keeping some old washi tape, some retired washi tape, because these have a tendency to flit around wherever they want. So I just get it lined up, take some washi tape and tape it down. That way I know that it's going to stay where I want it. Let's turn the plate around and line these ones up. And they're not going to line up perfectly, because that's just the nature of the beast. So try to get it lined up as good as you can. And you don't have to two-tone this set of flowers if you don't want. You can just use one of them. Okay, so I've got those ready, and I'm going to run them through the Big Shot and cut them out. And there we go. So now I just pop them off of the white piece and pull the washi tape off. Put it back for next time. There we go. Pop the flower out. Make sure I put this little sweetie pie back in the container. And on the back of the Sweet Sugar Plum one, I'm going to put a little bit of Tombow glue. And I never know where my tweezers are, so I just use my scissors, and I don't do it tight. I just pick them up loosely. And because there's Tombow on the back, I can move it around and get it where I want it before it attaches itself. So I'll bring back in the front and a couple of little dabs of Tombow. And we'll just put those flowers on there and put it aside to dry. Okay, that's that done. So we need to cut out the black pieces, and we can do that now. I've made this piece of black quite large, so I don't need to worry about where the itty bitty pieces are going. I love my magnetic platform. It works so well, but little teeny tiny dies have a tendency to pop all over the place because there's just magnets every once in a while. It's not a complete sheet of magnets. So washi works really well. Or extra big cardstock works too, because then if they move, you don't really care where they move to. Okay, and there's the piece. I'll that off of there. So there's the rail for the top of the front. There's the handle. Then we have these hingy pieces. I'm just going to make sure I pop all the extra cardstock out before I put them back. And there we go. Okay, so I think I'll put the rail on my card front while I'm here. So I'm just going to use a bit of Tombow on the back, a few dots. And kind of center it above there. There we go. And we'll just let that dry. The lid back on my Tombow. Okay, so now the door. There's two parts to the door. There's the white base stamped with crumb cake, and then I stamped the door again onto real red with crumb cake, and then I'll cut the pieces out. So I'm just doing stamp pad to stamp because this is a really big stamp and it doesn't fit well on the stamp pad, so I just have more control over it when it's that way. So just going to rub my finger over it to transfer the ink to the cardstock. And now get out. You can hand cut this if you want, but there's a die for it. So we're just going to stick it on the with the magnetic platform again and line it up so that there's a nice frame all the way along. Now when you're using tools, any kind of tools, punches or dies, the longer you take to set the cut up, the better the result is going to be. Now we pray that it doesn't move while I run it through, because I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing because I'm doing the video. Okay, there we go. So that's ready, and I'm going to take my handle and glue it on right now so that I don't lose any pieces. Hold it down with my scissors and put a couple of dots of Tombow on it. And you don't want too much of this Tombow because if it leaks out, there's a mess. There we go. Now you can have your door this way like I have, or you can have it this way. Doesn't really matter. So let's do it the other way today. And I'm just going to put a little bit of Tombow right down at the bottom on these hingy things. They're probably the runners, called runners, but I'm not buildy, so I don't know what they're called. And apparently barn doors are all the rage in decorating these days. I'm just lining it up on my grid paper so that I can make sure they're the same height. There we go. My fingers are sticky from the glue, so we'll just put that to the side. Now, when you cut these out, it doesn't take too long to whip them out and all. You just have to pay attention to which one you're cutting so you can get them back in the same spot, because each one individually is a different size and configuration. We'll just put a little bit of snail on there, and that's this one down here. So now I'll probably skip the video, and as you don't need to watch me cut these things out, or I'll speed it up to make it look funny. Okay, so I'm just about finished cutting the last one. Put a little bit of Tombow on the back, or sorry, snail on the back so that I can attach it to the last spot on the door. And there we have our doors is ready to go. So we've done the inside, we've done the door. Oh, the hello is next. So to do the hello, there's a bit of a trick. This is the stamp, but I wanted the hello to be red. So to do that, we're going to use a blender pen and the real red marker. So step one is to ink it up in the Memento black. Then just going to grab a scrap piece of paper here so that I don't have mark all over my grid paper. Now you're going to use the blender pen to pick the color up off of the hello. And you're going to have to go slow and methodical because you have to get it all off. And if you just keep going like this, all you're doing is mushing it around. So you do a little bit and then clean the blender pen off on a scrap paper. Oh, it's starting to squeak. I hope that's not bothering you guys. Sorry, I'll try to be lighter. I never noticed the squeaking because I usually have other noise in my craft room. There we go. Now you're going to take the real red Stampin' Right marker and just go over top of the hello. Now this works with with any stamp that you want to take ink off of and put a different color on it. We could have done the flower that way, but they gave us a die for that, so that's why I didn't do it that way. Okay, so now you have to huff on it, which means you bring air from your lungs, nice moist air, to reactivate the ink because it's been sitting there for a while now. And we're just going to stamp it. There we are. So that's how you get 2 tones of ink out of a single stamp. We don't have to use this one because I've already cut one out. And now to put it on the door, I'm going to use some mini dimensionals on the bottom part. And you probably don't need 4, but they're here and I can. Bring my door back in. Now I'm going to take the liners off of the dimensionals. Then I'm going to get my Tombow glue because I want this part to be popped up and I want this part to be attached like it's been hammered there with a nail. So I'm just going to put a little dot of Tombow on the top of the hangy part. And make sure it's kind of straight. Now I'm just going to hold this down for a couple of seconds until the Tombow takes hold of everything. Okay, so now we've got all of our pieces done and it's time to make the slidey part. And for that, I'm going to use some washers that you buy at hardware store. Need 8 of them. 2, 4, 6, 7, and 8. You can use number 6 or number 8, depending on which dimensionals you're going to use. So I'm using number 6 because I'm using mini dimensionals. So you make a dimensional sandwich. You put a dimensional on one, then you take the other one and stick it on top. So now you have a dimensional sandwich. So you're going to do that with 4 sets. That one's not in the center, so I'm just going to move it a bit. Oh, I used one too many. Ha! Good thing they come off easy. Or maybe they don't. Come on. There we go. Put that one back. We only need 4. We don't need 5 sets. Hey, there's 3 and number 4. All right. Now we're going to put foam strips on the back of the barn front. So the foam strips come in long strips like this. We sell them in the Stamping Up annual catalog. And they're thicker than our dimensionals. So there you go. And it just gives more room for the washers to slide back and forth. I cut those strips in half because I don't like dealing with great big long strips of stuff. They're easier for me to control if I have shorter strips. So you want to put 1 strip above and 1 strip below each of the slidey holes. Far enough away from the slots that your washers are still going to be able to float back and forth. Like that. Now I'm going to put them on both sides as well. Where did my scissors go? There we are. Apparently I put them a little bit too close to this side, but that's okay. We can fake it. Oops, get off my finger. Thank you. There we are. And then I run a strip down the middle. You don't have to, it's just that I don't like my cards to collapse. And I have extra pieces, so there we go. Now the card base, and when I put this on, I want it to be right down level with the bottom of the card base, so it leaves a white frame around 3 sides. And to do this, I'm going to remove the liners off of some of the strips. And then I stand my cardstock up and put this so that I'm getting it even. And I'm holding the end away that I've done taken all the liners off already. So now it's even at the bottom, and I centered it side to side. Now push down on those to make sure they've got good adhesion before I start pulling them up to take all the other liners off. Come on. Don't fight me, baby. Come on. There we are. Now this one. And the last one. I'll just check to make sure I've got them all off. And just push them down on your card base to make sure they stick really good. Now, you could put these in before you stick that down, but it's not necessary because they pop in quite easily. The number 6s. The number 8s are a bit bigger, so I would probably put the 8s on, the number 8s on before you put it onto your card front. There we are. So now you put them out to the side, 2 on each side, to attach the door, because it's easier to attach half of the door at a time. Then you're not only fighting with 2 sets of washers instead of 4. I'm using glue dots on top of the holes in the washers to attach the door. There we are. Now, oops. Where did I put the door? Hello, door. Oh, slid over there. Hey, let's spread these guys back out. So I'm going to bring the door over or down a bit past where the washers are, and then I want it to be just a little bit below the rail, like that, and push them on. And then hold the edge of the door up and move it past the other ones. Make sure the roller pieces are pretty even. And there you go. There's the door. Then you hope it slides back and forth. Yay! How fun is that? There's nothing better than an interactive card to make people smile when they receive it in the mail. And this one is not too hard to operate. Some of them you have to send instructions, but this one, they'll get it right away. Okay, so we have the inside and the envelope to do. So I'm going to use this stamp, this wreath stamp, and Real Red, and I used crumb cake when I did this wreath, but I think I'm going to change that up a bit and use Old Olive. And we're just going to color the stamps with the markers. Now, use the stamping rate markers. Don't use the new Stampin' Blends, because they're alcohol markers and they are permanent. So if you use them on your stamp, it will be permanent and you won't be able to get it off. So there, I just went over it a few times just to get a good layer of ink on there. And I'm using the side of my pen, not this way, because you get better coverage on the side and you don't destroy the point of the marker. Now we're going to do the bow at the bottom the same way. Just a quick covering of Real Red and back and forth over top of it. Put the lid back on. Now the card goes this way, not this way. I've done that a few times. Now we're going to huff again. And we're going to stamp down in the bottom corner, which is where I always put my stamp, but you can do wherever you want. So there's the inside. We're going to do it again and put it on the envelope. We're going to do it exactly the same way. Just a couple of layers of ink on there using the marker. There we are. There's the Old Olive. Now do the bow in Real Red. There's also a die that will punch out this bow. And I haven't used it yet because I completely forgot it was in there. There we go. So let's give that a try, because we can, and see what it looks like. So I'm just going to because I've already got green on there and I don't want to take the time to clean my stamp and use the real red ink, I'll just use that ink, huff it, and stamp it on my scrap of white. Get my dies, the bow die. Ooh! Hey. Platform. Die. Make sure everything is lined up here. Put the die on there. To cut. Oh. Now I'll just grab one of my pieces of washi tape and put it over top so the die stays where I put it. Because sometimes it doesn't. Run it through the Big Shot. Gently pull the washi tape off. And there we go, there's the bow. So if you wanted to, on the inside, you could just pop a couple of dimensionals up on there and pop that up on the inside. Cool! It's so cute. Okay, let's just do that. There we go. Now, because we're putting white on white, I take the marker and go around the outside edges just to give it a bit of definition. So to do that, you want to hold your pen this way. Don't hold it this way because then you have a tendency to tip it and you could get it where you don't want it. So if you hold it this way, you have a lot more control, and just run it gently around the edges. Like that on all four sides. And we'll use our trusty snail. And center it on the inside. And there we have it. There's our barn door, interactive barn door happy birthday card. Now what are you getting caught on? Oh, okay, it's just catching on that flower a bit there. So there's the interactive barn door card, your inside with the cute popped up bow on the wreath and the envelope to match it. There you go. So if you'd like to order your supplies for this barn door stamp set, here's the information. This is my current host code till the end of January. And if you're watching this later and you would like to order, go to my blog, glendamollet.blogspot.com, which is in my craft room blog. And on the right hand side, just down a bit, you'll find the current host code for whatever time frame you are watching this video in. And if you would like a copy of the Occasions catalog and you don't already have a Canadian demonstrator, shoot me an email. And I didn't do the email on there, so let's just pop it on there. It's GJMOLLET@shaw.ca. Shoot me an email. I'd be happy to ship one off to you anywhere in Canada, along with a copy of the celebration brochure. So with $60 worth of product from the annual catalog or the occasions catalog or the clearance rack online, you get to choose one item for free out of this book. Look at all this cool stuff. They also have a level 2. So if your order is $120, you can order these wonderful die set that cut out the dies, or this double stamp set called Happy Wishes. Everything else in here is $60. Now, just to refresh your memory, the barn door set is on page 43 of the Occasions catalog. Consists of the barn door stamp set and the sliding door frames, and you can order them in a bundle and save 10% until the end of this catalog, which is the 31st of May. And this stamp set comes in the wood mounted or clear mount to use with a clear acrylic block. And don't forget, if you order this barn door bundle before the end of May 2018, I will send you a card kit to make the barn door card with all the cut pieces that you need, including the washers. The only thing you'll need is adhesive to put your kit together. If you have any questions, please send me an email. And I hope you have time to be crafty in your craft room today. Thanks for watching. Have a crafty day. Goodbye from Glenda.